Clear out your desk, Simone. You're done here. Board Chairman Gerald Whitman doesn't hand her the cardboard box. He slams it down so hard the conference table shakes. Coffee cups rattle. 8 white board members lean back with satisfied grins, watching the show they've orchestrated. Inside the box, her MBA diploma torn at the corner, family photos face down, and her Executive of the Year award wrapped in toilet paper like garbage. The message is crystal clear. You never belonged here. Security will escort you out, Whitman continues, his voice dripping with contempt. Make sure she doesn't steal anything on her way out. Janet Holloway bursts into actual laughter. Maybe now we can get someone who actually fits our corporate culture. Dr. Simone Washington, Harvard MBA, 18 months as CEO, 23% profit increase, sits frozen as 850 employees watch live on Slack. The humiliation is deliberate, calculated, and broadcast. Have you ever been dismissed from something you built by people who never believed you belonged there in the first place? Have you ever been dismissed from something you built by people who never believed you belonged there in the first place? The live stream counter ticks upward, 847, 852, 861 viewers. In the corner, Whitman's assistant pretends to adjust her laptop while the internal Slack explodes with messages. You have 30 minutes before building security locks down for the weekend, Whitman announces, checking his Rolex. The same watch he'd bragged about at the Christmas party. $43,000, inherited from his grandfather. Simone's fingers trace the edge of her briefcase. Inside, a titanium legal folder catches the fluorescent light. The embossed letters KLM Partners are barely visible, but they're there. Gerald, she says, her voice steady as granite. Our Q3 profits exceeded targets by 23%. What's the real reason? Board member Janet Holloway leans forward, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. Simone, dear, you have to understand. Our clients expect a certain familiarity when they walk through those doors. Someone they can relate to. The words land like a slap. Around the table, knowing glances pass between the older members. Robert Brooks, the newest board member, shifts uncomfortably in his seat. Whitman's phone buzzes. He reads the message and chuckles. The press release is already drafted. Mutual departure to pursue new opportunities. Very amicable. Nothing personal, Holloway adds, adjusting her pearls. It's just that some leadership styles don't translate well in traditional banking. Simone pulls out her phone with deliberate calm. Her thumb hovers over a contact labeled simply JB. One text. Code 7. Execute immediately. The message sends. Across town, phones buzz in a corner office suite overlooking the federal courthouse. You people always make everything about race, Whitman says, his mask slipping completely. Sometimes you're just not qualified. Period. The Slack stream spikes. 1,247 viewers. Screenshots flood Twitter within seconds. Someone starts a hashtag #JusticeForCEO. Keisha Thompson, a junior analyst who'd been working late, now stands in the hallway with her phone pressed against the glass door. Her live stream to Instagram attracts her college network. Students at Howard, Spelman, and Morehouse. The viewer count climbs. 3,400, 5,800, 8,200. Ma'am, I need to escort you out, says Maurice Jackson, head of security. But he hesitates. Maurice has worked here for 12 years. He remembers when Simone started, how she learned every employee's name within a week, how she fought to get his daughter an internship. The building's PA system crackles to life. Attention all employees. Please remain in the building for a mandatory all-hands meeting. Repeat, do not leave the premises. Simone doesn't flinch. She checks her phone. 4:59 p.m. This is not a negotiation, Whitman's voice rises. You're terminated. Effective immediately. Security will handle the rest. 2 more guards arrive, flanking Maurice. The room temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. 8 board members, 3 security guards, 1 assistant still streaming, and Simone Washington, alone at the head of the table. Holloway's voice turns saccharine. We've already notified the media. Very clean transition. No one has to get messy. The threat hangs in the air like smoke from a gun barrel. Keisha's live stream count hits 12,000. Comments pour in. This is discrimination! Save this woman's job! Where's the board oversight? Someone has already identified Meridian Community Bank. The bank's main number starts ringing, then ringing more. The receptionist downstairs looks confused as line after line lights up red. 25 minutes, Whitman taps his watch again. Then security escorts you to your car. Very simple. Simone's hand rests on her briefcase. The titanium legal folder feels cool against her palm through the leather. Inside that folder, 3 weeks of careful documentation, audio recordings, email chains, meeting transcripts, all perfectly legal, all perfectly damning. But she doesn't open it. Not yet. Instead, she looks at each board member in turn. Brooks won't meet her eyes. He knows this is wrong. Holloway's smile falters under the steady gaze. Even Whitman's confidence wavers. You know what's interesting about traditional banking? Simone's voice cuts through the tension like a scalpel. It's built on trust, reputation, the belief that institutions will do the right thing. She pauses, watching the live stream count tick upward on the assistant's screen. 15,400 viewers and climbing. What happens when people stop believing? Maurice shifts his weight. The other guards look uncomfortable. They've all seen the comments flooding the live stream. Their own family members are probably watching. Whitman's phone buzzes again. This time he frowns, reading the message. Then another buzz, another frown. The bank's customer service line is lighting up like a Christmas tree. 5:07 p.m., the building's automated system announces. 23 minutes to security lockdown. But something has changed in the room's dynamic. The balance of power shifts like tectonic plates, slow, invisible, but seismic. Simone checks her own phone. A single text from JB. ETA 2 minutes. She sets the phone down and smiles for the first time since entering the room. It's not a happy smile. It's the smile of someone who's been playing chess while everyone else played checkers. Gerald, she says softly, you might want to postpone that press release. Segment 3. Tension escalates. 1,300 words. Whitman's laugh is sharp and bitter. Postpone? You're delusional if you think... His phone rings. The caller ID shows Channel 7 News. He declines the call, but it rings again immediately. Different numbers. Then another. Sir? The assistant's voice wavers. She's staring at her laptop screen. The live stream? It's been shared to Facebook. 43,000 views in the last 2 minutes. The color drains from Holloway's face. Her own phone starts buzzing. Text messages flood in from her country club friends, her daughter at Duke, her neighbors. Everyone's asking the same question. Is this really happening at your bank? Maurice clears his throat. Mr. Whitman, maybe we should... You do your job and escort her out, Whitman snaps. Now! But Maurice doesn't move. Behind him, the 2 younger guards exchange glances. One of them, Officer Davis, whispers to his partner. His girlfriend goes to Howard University. She's been texting him screenshots from the live stream. 5:09 p.m. 21 minutes to lockdown. Keisha's Instagram stream hits 28,000 viewers. She's narrating quietly. Y'all, this is live from Meridian Community Bank. They're firing their black female CEO for no reason. This is discrimination in real time. The comments section explodes. Someone call the news. Get lawyers involved. Record everything. This is 2024, not 1954. Board member Brooks finally speaks up. Gerald, perhaps we should table this discussion. The optics. Holloway's voice rises to a shriek. Robert, she's the one causing this circus. If she'd just leave quietly. Like a good little employee? Simone's words are surgical steel. Is that what you expected? The room falls silent, except for the constant buzzing of phones. Everyone's devices are lighting up like a cyberstorm. Whitman's assistant, Lisa, Simone remembers, a recent graduate from Georgia State, looks physically ill. The Slack stream she started accidentally has now been screen recorded and uploaded to TikTok. Multiple versions, different angles, different hashtags. Black Women Matter. Banking. While. Black. Meridian Discrimination. Justice for CEO. Each hashtag gains thousands of posts within minutes. This is what happens, Holloway hisses, when you people don't know your place. The words hang in the air like a toxic cloud. Even Whitman winces. Brooks drops his pen. Maurice's jaw tightens. And Keisha's live stream captures it all in crystal clear audio. 5:11 p.m. 19 minutes to lockdown. Simone's phone buzzes with a text from JB. Lobby level, ready when you are. She doesn't react. Don't smile. Doesn't give anything away. But something shifts in her posture. Straighter spine, lifted chin. The bearing of someone who's about to play their ace. You know what's fascinating about live social media? She says conversationally. Once something goes viral, you can't control it, can't delete it, can't spin it. Whitman's phone shows 17 missed calls. Channel 7, Channel 3, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Bloomberg, even CNN's business desk. The bank's phone system is overloaded, the assistant reports, her voice shaking. Customer service is getting hundreds of calls. People are asking about closing accounts. For the first time, real fear flickers across Whitman's face. Meridian Community Bank serves 47,000 customers across Metro Atlanta. If even 5% had closed their accounts. This is extortion, he snarls. You orchestrated this whole thing. I orchestrated nothing, Simone replies calmly. I'm sitting in a room being discriminated against while people watch. The reaction is organic. Keisha angles her phone to catch Whitman's red face, Holloway's panicked expression, the security guard's uncomfortable shuffling. Her follower count has doubled in real time. Sorority sisters from across the country are sharing the stream. One comment catches fire. Y'all better not bank here if they treat black executives like this. How are they going to treat regular customers? Within minutes, it's been retweeted 20,400 times. 5:13 p.m. 17 minutes to lockdown. The building's lobby phone rings at the security desk, then rings again. The desk sergeant, a middle-aged white man named Tommy, answers on the third ring. Meridian Community Bank, how may I... What? No, I can't comment on... Ma'am, please hold. He puts the call on hold, picks up another line. No, we don't have a statement about... Sir, I'm just security. The lines light up like a Christmas tree. Local news, national news, financial reporters, civil rights organizations, and hundreds of regular people demanding answers. Chen stands up abruptly. I'm calling for an emergency recess. This entire proceeding is... Sit down, Robert, Whitman barks. We're finishing this. But Brooks is already gathering his papers. I won't be part of this circus. Janet, Gerald, you're destroying this institution. He walks toward the door, then pauses. Ms. Washington, I'm sorry. This isn't how we should conduct business. The door closes behind him with a soft click. Now it's 7 against 1. 7 board members, 3 security guards, 1 terrified assistant, and Simone Washington sitting calmly at the head of the table with her mysterious briefcase. 5:15 p.m. 15 minutes to lockdown. Keisha's stream hits 47,000 viewers. Someone has called the NAACP. Someone else contacted the National Association of Bank Women. The story is spreading beyond social media into organized advocacy networks. Outside in the hallway, more employees gather. Word spreads through the building like wildfire. The maintenance staff, the tellers, the loan officers, they all know what's happening. Many pull out their phones to document. Meridian Meltdown begins trending locally. Within the hour, it'll be national. Ma'am, Maurice says quietly. Maybe we should wait for... For what? Holloway snaps. For this to get worse? Get her out of here now. But as Maurice takes a step forward, his radio crackles to life. Security to conference room 12. We have multiple attorneys in the lobby requesting access to Ms. Washington. They say they're here on urgent legal business. The room goes dead silent. Simone checks her phone again. Another text from JB. All 8 are here, ready for phase 2. She sets the phone down and looks directly at Whitman. Gerald, I tried to make this simple. A quiet conversation, a reasonable discussion, but you chose to make it ugly. Her voice never rises above conversational level, but something in her tone makes everyone lean forward. So now it gets complicated. 5:16 p.m. 14 minutes to lockdown. The elevator dings softly 8 floors below as it begins its ascent. The cavalry is coming. The conference room door opens with surgical precision. 8 figures in charcoal suits file in like a precision strike team. Leading them is Jasmine Burke, KLM Partners' senior litigation partner, a woman whose courtroom reputation precedes her like thunder before lightning. Her presence transforms the room's energy instantly. Board members who moments ago held all the power now shrink in their leather chairs. Good evening, board members. Her voice could cut diamonds. I'm attorney Jasmine Burke, representing Dr. Simone Washington in federal discrimination proceedings against this institution. Whitman's face cycles through confusion, anger, and dawning horror. What federal proceedings? This is a private personnel matter. Not anymore. Simone opens her briefcase with deliberate calm. The titanium folder emerges like Excalibur from stone. Gerald, meet Federal Banking Commission complaint number 2024-7789, filed 3 weeks ago. The room's atmosphere shifts like a barometric pressure drop before a hurricane. Every board member leans forward despite themselves, drawn by the gravity of federal involvement. Jasmine's associate, a tall man with silver temples, distributes legal documents around the table with practiced efficiency. Each board member receives an identical packet, 47 pages of meticulously documented evidence, sworn affidavits, and federal charges. The paper feels heavy in their hands, weighted with consequences. What you're holding, Jasmine continues, her voice filling every corner of the room, details systematic discrimination against Dr. Washington based on race and gender in direct violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, Section 1981 of the Civil Rights Act, and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Holloway's hands shake as she flips through the pages. Her face goes white as parchment. This can't be legal. You can't record private meetings without consent. Georgia is a one-party consent state, Attorney number 2 explains, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. His nameplate reads, David James, no relation to board member Robert. Dr. Washington had every legal right to document these interactions under Georgia Code Section 16 to 1162. The legal precision is surgical, every statement backed by statute, every claim is supported by precedent. Simone's voice remains steady as granite. Audio recordings from 6 board meetings over the past 4 months. Each one contains racially coded language, discriminatory remarks, and exclusion tactics documented in accordance with EEOC guidelines. She slides a transcript across the table to Whitman. His own words stare back at him in black and white, time-stamped with devastating accuracy. December 15, 2024, 3:47 p.m. We need someone who fits the bank's traditional image. January 22, 2025, 4:15 p.m. Clients expect a certain cultural alignment. February 8, 2025, 2:33 p.m. Some leadership styles just don't translate in our market. Every euphemism, every dog whistle, every carefully crafted phrase designed to avoid saying what they really meant. Documented, time-stamped, and legally admissible in federal court. 5:18 p.m. 12 minutes to lockdown. The Federal Banking Commission has been investigating for 21 days. Jasmine announces, letting the weight of federal oversight settle over the room. Dr. Washington has been cooperating fully as a protected whistleblower under Section 1057 of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau guidelines. Attorney number 3. A young black woman named Maya Patel with Harvard Law credentials, practically radiating from her bearing, speaks for the first time. We also have sworn statements from 12 current and former employees documenting a pattern of discriminatory behavior spanning 18 months. She produces another folder, this one thicker than the first. The affidavits are alphabetized, notarized, and devastating. Keisha Thompson's name appears on the first statement, 3 pages, detailing microaggressions and coded language. Maurice Jackson's follows, security guard witnessing systematic exclusion of minority employees from leadership meetings. Even Lisa, the trembling assistant still broadcasting to thousands, had provided testimony 3 days ago when Simone approached her privately about the hostile work environment she'd been documenting with growing concern. "This is impossible," Whitman sputters, his usual commanding presence reduced to desperate denials. "You can't have built a federal case in 3 weeks. Try 3 months." Simone's smile is Arctic cold, revealing the depth of her preparation. "I started documenting irregularities the day you questioned my cultural fit during the Christmas party, when you suggested our clients might prefer someone more traditional." The live stream count on Lisa's laptop hits 73,000 viewers. Keisha has switched to Facebook Live to capture the legal team's dramatic arrival. Comments flood in faster than the eye can follow. "She came prepared. That's how you fight back. Federal case, they're cooked. Never underestimate a black woman with receipts." Jasmine produces a thick legal brief bound in blue covers, the kind reserved for federal court filings. Meridian Community Bank faces 8 distinct federal charges: racial discrimination in employment practices under Title VII, gender-based harassment under the Equal Protection Clause, violation of banking diversity requirements under the Community Reinvestment Act, Section 802. Why? She pauses, letting each charge land like hammer blows, and retaliation against a protected whistleblower, which under 12 U.S.C. Section 1931J carries mandatory criminal penalties, including potential imprisonment. The blood drains from every face around the table. Criminal penalties mean personal liability, prison time, professional ruin, the kind of consequences that destroy careers and legacies. The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta has been notified, Attorney David James adds, his voice carrying the authority of institutional power, as has the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. They're reviewing Meridian's banking charter for immediate suspension, pending investigation outcome. Charter suspension. The corporate death penalty. No bank survives losing its federal charter. Every loan would be called in. Every deposit transferred. The institution would cease to exist within 90 days. Board member Harrison, who hadn't spoken all evening, finally finds his voice. When did you? Dr. Washington first contacted our firm in November, Maya Patel explains. Initial consultation regarding workplace discrimination. We advised documentation and patience. By January, we had enough evidence to proceed. Holloway's voice cracks like breaking glass. How much do you want? This isn't about money, Simone replies, her dignity intact despite everything they'd put her through. This is about justice, systemic change, accountability for real-life stories like mine that happen every day in corporate America. 5:20 p.m. 10 minutes to lockdown. Maya Patel slides another document forward, this one bearing federal seals and official letterhead. Under the Federal Banking Commission's Settlement Framework 2024, Section 12A, Meridian has 72 hours to choose between 2 options. She counts on her fingers like a prosecutor addressing a jury, each point delivered with prosecutorial precision. Option 1, full compliance. Dr. Washington's immediate reinstatement with expanded authority and 3-year contract protection. $2.3 million settlement to be donated to financial literacy programs in underserved communities. Mandatory unconscious bias training for all employees, quarterly for 2 years, conducted by certified federal contractors. Board restructuring to ensure 40% minority representation within 6 months. Nay. The demands are comprehensive, designed to transform institutional culture from the ground up. Whitman's hands clench into fists. And option 2? Federal trial, full discovery process, including subpoenas for all board communications, financial records, and personal emails dating back 5 years. Media coverage of every proceeding under federal court public access rules. FDIC investigation into lending practices with potential pattern or practice findings. Potential civil rights lawsuit with treble damages under federal statute 42 U.S.C. section 1981. Jasmine's voice drops to barely above a whisper, but every word carries the weight of judicial consequence. And Dr. Washington has already been approached by 67 employees ready to join a class action suit for a hostile work environment, including several department heads. The room goes dead silent except for the hum of phones buzzing with notifications and the soft sound of Lisa's live stream capturing every moment for posterity. Attorney number 4, a silver-haired man named Robert Kim, whose Supreme Court clerkship gives him instant credibility, opens his own briefcase. We've also identified potential violations of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act in your loan approval processes. The Department of Justice Civil Rights Division is very interested in your rejection rates for minority applicants. He slides a statistical analysis across the table. The numbers are damning, presented in charts and graphs that tell a story of systematic exclusion. Black applicants rejected at 2.3 times the rate of white applicants with identical credit profiles. Hispanic applicants at 1.8 times the rate. Asian applicants facing inexplicable delays in processing. That's a separate federal investigation, he adds casually, delivering the knockout punch. Already in progress with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. 5:22 p.m. 8 minutes to lockdown. Whitman's phone buzzes insistently. He glances at the screen and his face goes ashen. That's the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. Answer it, Simone suggests with quiet authority. They're probably calling about the emergency audit scheduled for Monday morning at 8 a.m. sharp. His hands shake as he declines the call, but it rings again immediately. Different numbers, then another. The federal banking system mobilizes like an immune response against discrimination. The story broke on Bloomberg 15 minutes ago, Maya announces, checking her phone with professional satisfaction. Federal discrimination case filed against Georgia Community Bank. Stock market implications for parent holding companies. Meridian isn't publicly traded, but its parent holding company is. The after-hours stock price has already dropped 12% and is falling. Keisha's live stream comments explode with celebration and vindication. She had receipts. 3 months of planning. Never mess with a smart black woman. Federal case. They're done. This is how you fight systemic racism. The viewer count climbs past 127,000 as touching stories of workplace discrimination flood the comments from viewers sharing their own experiences. Holloway's voice is barely a whisper. What happens if we choose option 1? Jasmine's smile is professional, precise, and absolutely lethal. Dr. Washington returns to work Monday morning with full CEO authority. You issue a public apology acknowledging the discrimination. The federal case proceeds but with recommended reduced penalties for cooperation. She pauses for effect, savoring the complete reversal of power. And you personally undergo 24 months of court-supervised bias counseling at your own expense. The humiliation would be exquisite. Public acknowledgement of guilt, court supervision, personal accountability broadcast to the world. If we choose option 2, Whitman asks, though he already knows the answer will destroy him. Criminal referrals to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. Personal liability for each board member under federal anti-retaliation statutes. Federal trial with full media coverage. And Dr. Washington keeps her job anyway under whistleblower protection statutes. 5:24 p.m. 6 minutes to lockdown. Simone stands for the first time since the meeting began, rising with the quiet dignity of someone who has transformed victimization into victory. I gave you a chance to do this quietly, to treat me with basic professional respect, to acknowledge my qualifications and contributions to this institution. Her voice never rises, but power radiates from every word, the power of preparation, justice, and federal law. Instead, you chose humiliation, discrimination. You chose to make this about race when it should have been about results. She gestures to her legal team with quiet pride. So I made it about justice, federal justice, the kind with teeth, precedent, and consequences that transform entire institutions. The live stream hits 134,000 viewers. Hashtag federal justice begins trending nationwide alongside hashtag Black Stories. You have 72 hours to decide, Jasmine announces with final authority. Choose wisely. The federal government is watching. The legal team files out as precisely as they entered, leaving behind shell-shocked board members, irrefutable evidence, and the ruins of institutional discrimination. Simone remains standing, briefcase in hand, looking down at the people who tried to destroy her career and instead destroyed their own credibility. "Oh, and Gerald?" she says softly, delivering the final blow with surgical precision. "You might want to cancel that press release." Saturday morning, 8:47 a.m. Meridian Community Bank's executive conference room feels like a war crimes tribunal. The mahogany table that once symbolized power now serves as an altar of accountability. Gerald Whitman sits at the head, but his authority has evaporated like morning mist. Dark circles under his eyes suggest he didn't sleep. His normally pristine suit is wrinkled, his silver hair uncombed. The weight of federal investigation has aged him a decade overnight. "The Federal Reserve called 6 times, he announced at the emergency board meeting. His voice cracks on federal. "The FDIC wants our loan files. The Office of the Comptroller scheduled an emergency examination for Tuesday." Board member Harrison shuffles through regulatory letters with shaking hands. "They're requesting 5 years of employment records, personnel files, email archives, everything." Janet Holloway looks like she's aged 20 years since Friday evening. Her usual, perfectly coiffed appearance has crumbled into desperate disarray. "My attorney says we're looking at personal liability under Section 1983. Civil rights violations carry mandatory attorney fees." The live stream from Friday night has been viewed 2.3 million times across platforms. At Meridian Meltdown reached number 3 trending on Twitter. CNN picked up the story. The Washington Post business section led with "Georgia Bank faces federal discrimination charges." "Stock price dropped another 8% in pre-market trading," reports board member Williams, scrolling through his phone with visible distress. "Parent company shareholders are demanding explanations." The parent holding company, Southeastern Financial Group, controls 12 community banks across 3 states. Meridian's crisis threatens the entire network. Federal scrutiny spreads like cancer through financial institutions. Whitman's phone buzzes. He glances at the caller ID. Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He lets it go to voicemail. It's the 14th media call since midnight. "What about our legal options?" Holloway asks desperately. "Can we challenge the recordings? Claim entrapment?" Corporate attorney Michael Reynolds, hastily retained at $800 per hour, shakes his head grimly. "Georgia's one-party consent statute is ironclad. The recordings are admissible. The federal case has merit." He slides a legal brief across the table. "KLM Partners has a 93% success rate in federal discrimination cases. They've never lost a banking discrimination case. Ever." The room falls silent except for the ticking of Whitman's inherited Rolex, the same watch that counted down Simone's humiliation just 18 hours ago. "The Justice Department Civil Rights Division opened a parallel investigation," Reynolds continues. "Pattern or practice inquiry into lending discrimination. If they find systemic bias, we're looking at a consent decree." Consent decrees are federal court orders that can control bank operations for decades. Every loan, every hire, every policy decision subject to government oversight. Williams pulls up news coverage on his tablet. Channel 7 interviewed 3 former employees, all black, all claiming discrimination. The optics are catastrophic, Holloway finishes. My country club friends won't return my calls. My daughter's getting questions at Duke. Whitman's phone buzzes again. This time he recognizes the number. Meridian's largest commercial client, Davidson Construction. They hold $4.2 million in deposits and a $2.8 million credit line. He answers reluctantly. Good morning, Tom. Gerald, we need to talk. Tom Davidson's voice is ice cold. Our company has a zero-tolerance diversity policy. We can't be associated with institutions facing federal discrimination charges. The blood drains from Whitman's face. Tom, surely we can... We're moving our accounts to SunTrust Monday morning. Nothing personal, just business. The line goes dead. Davidson Construction represents just the beginning. Within 2 hours, 3 more major clients call with similar messages. By noon, $12.7 million in deposits are scheduled for transfer. Reynolds checks his legal pad. Under the Federal Banking Commission settlement framework, you have until Monday at 5 p.m. to respond. 41 hours remaining. He outlines the mathematics of destruction. Option 2 means federal trial. Discovery will reveal every board communication, every email, every text message for 5 years. Personal depositions under oath. Media coverage of every proceeding. Harrison's face goes white. Personal depositions? Under federal civil rights law, each board member faces individual liability. Potential damages range from $50,000 to $200,000 per person, plus mandatory attorney fees. The financial devastation would be personal and total. Retirement accounts drained, houses mortgaged, reputations destroyed. The Department of Justice investigation is separate, Reynolds continues. Criminal referrals possible under 18 U.S.C. Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. If they prosecute, we're talking potential imprisonment. Federal prison. Orange jumpsuits. The ultimate humiliation for people who'd built their identity on social status and respectability. Holloway's voice trembles. What about option 1? Reynolds reads from the settlement terms. Dr. Washington's immediate reinstatement as CEO with expanded authority. 3-year contract protection against termination without federal oversight approval. $2.3 million settlement donated to community financial literacy programs. He continues down the list. Mandatory unconscious bias training for all employees. Quarterly sessions for 24 months. Board restructuring requires 40% minority representation within 6 months. Annual diversity audits by independent federal contractors. The requirements would transform Meridian completely. Every hiring decision is scrutinized. Every promotion is reviewed. Every policy is evaluated through an equity lens. And personal consequences? Whitman asks, though he dreads the answer. Public apology acknowledging discriminatory behavior. Court-supervised bias counseling for 24 months at personal expense. Resignation from all community leadership positions. The social humiliation would be exquisite. Whitman serves on 4 nonprofit boards, chairs the Chamber of Commerce, belongs to 3 exclusive clubs. All of it is gone. Williams looks up from his tablet. The story's gone national. Bloomberg, CNBC, Wall Street Journal. Someone leaked the settlement terms. The media firestorm grows by the hour. Business reporters dissecting the case. Legal analysts explaining federal banking law. Civil rights leaders calling for systemic change. Justice. For Simone has generated 847,000 tweets. Her story resonates across corporate America, touching stories of discrimination that inspire other victims to speak out. Whitman's phone shows 37 missed calls. Regional media, national outlets, financial analysts, and shareholders demanding explanations. The avalanche of accountability accelerates. "There's something else," Reynolds says grimly. "KLM Partners filed a motion for expedited discovery. If you choose option 2, depositions begin next week." Next week. 7 days to prepare for legal interrogation under oath. Federal prosecutors asking pointed questions about racial bias. Every statement recorded, transcribed, potentially criminal. Holloway breaks first. "I can't do this. I won't go to prison for Gerald's discrimination." "My discrimination?" Whitman explodes. "You made the cultural alignment comment. You called the meeting. You pushed the termination." The board fractures in real time. 18 months of unified discrimination crumbling into desperate self-preservation. Harrison stands abruptly. "I'm calling for an emergency vote. Full acceptance of option 1. All in favor?" 4 hands rise immediately. Williams, Harrison, and 2 others who'd remained silent during Friday's debacle. "Gerald?" Harrison asks. "Janet?" Holloway's hand trembles as it rises. I vote yes." All eyes turn to Whitman. The man who'd orchestrated Simone's humiliation now faces his own moment of accountability. His phone buzzes again. Another major client, another account closure, another step toward institutional collapse. "We need a unanimous vote," Reynolds explains. "Federal settlement requires full board approval." The silence stretches like a taut wire. Whitman stares at the cardboard box still sitting on the credenza, the same box he'd used to humiliate Simone. The wilted plant inside has died completely. Outside, protesters have gathered. Word spread through social media Saturday morning. 200 people holding signs, "Justice for Dr. Washington," and "Banking while black should not be a crime." Local news crews film the demonstration. The visual optics are devastating. A community bank under siege for discriminating against its own CEO. Whitman's voice is barely a whisper. "Yes, I vote yes." The decision is unanimous. Option 1 accepted. Reynolds makes notes on his legal pad. "I'll contact KLM Partners immediately. Dr. Washington returns to work Monday morning at 9 a.m. Press conference scheduled for 2 p.m. with full board apology." As board members file out like defeated generals, Whitman remains alone in the conference room. The mahogany table that once represented his power now serves as a reminder of its limits. On Monday morning, Dr. Simone Washington would walk through these doors again. But this time, federal law would be her shield, and justice would be her sword. The corporate showdown was over. Justice had won. Monday morning, 8:58 a.m. Dr. Simone Washington walks through Meridian Community Bank's glass doors for the first time since Friday's attempted termination. The difference is seismic. Maurice Jackson, head of security, stands at attention. "Good morning, Dr. Washington. Welcome back." His respect is genuine now, not the conflicted deference of a man caught between conscience and orders. Every employee in the lobby turns to watch. Some applaud quietly. Others nod with satisfaction. Keisha Thompson waits by the elevator, her phone recording discreetly. Not for viral content this time, but for historical documentation. "How does it feel to be back?" she asks. "Like coming home," Simone replies simply. "But better, because now everyone knows where they stand." The elevator rises to the executive floor. The same hallway where she'd been humiliated now feels transformed. Federal oversight changes everything, not just policies, but the very air people breathe. At 2:00 p.m. sharp, the press conference begins. 8 board members sit behind a banner reading Meridian Community Bank, Commitment to Equity and Justice. The irony is intentional. Gerald Whitman steps to the podium, his prepared statement shaking in his hands. The man who'd dismissed Simone with casual cruelty now faces public accountability. On behalf of Meridian Community Bank's Board of Directors, I offer our sincere apology to Dr. Simone Washington for discriminatory treatment that violated both her dignity and federal law. His voice cracks on federal law. Behind him, Janet Holloway stares at her hands, unable to meet the cameras. We acknowledge that our actions reflected unconscious bias and systemic failures that have no place in modern banking. Dr. Washington's leadership has driven unprecedented growth, 23% profit increase, expanded community lending, and innovative financial literacy programs. The admission of competence makes their discrimination even more damning. They didn't fire her for the performance. They fired her for existing while black. Effective immediately, Meridian implements comprehensive reforms, mandatory bias training for all employees, independent diversity audits, board restructuring to ensure minority representation reflects our community. Channel 7's reporter raises her hand. Mr. Whitman, do you accept personal responsibility for the discrimination? Whitman's pause stretches uncomfortably. Yes. My actions and words contributed to a hostile environment. I take full responsibility. The words taste like ashes, but federal oversight demands truth. 3 months later, the transformation is measurable. Meridian's workforce diversity has increased 37%. The new minority board members bring fresh perspectives and community connections. Marcus James, no relation to former board member Robert, chairs the newly created Equity Committee. Dr. Amara Williams, former NAACP Regional Director, oversees hiring practices. Both appointments suggested by Simone, approved unanimously by the reformed board. The bank's financial performance tells its own story. Customer deposits have grown by $42 million, new accounts from minority communities who'd never trusted Meridian before. Community leaders recommend the bank specifically because of its equity commitment. When institutions demonstrate real change, Simone explains to Harvard Business Review, communities respond. Our loan approval rates for minority applicants now exceed industry averages, not through lowered standards but through eliminating bias. The federal settlement's $2.3 million funds 3 community initiatives, financial literacy programs in underserved neighborhoods, small business development loans, and college banking education partnerships with historically black colleges. Keisha Thompson, promoted to Community Outreach Coordinator, manages the programs. Dr. Washington turned her discrimination into community empowerment, she tells the local news. That's transformational leadership. The unconscious bias training extends beyond legal requirements. Monthly workshops explore microaggressions, inclusive communication, and equity in financial services. Not corporate theater, but genuine cultural transformation. Employee satisfaction surveys show remarkable improvement. The anonymous comment system, implemented to prevent future discrimination, reveals testimonials about improved workplace culture. I can finally be myself at work. Leadership actually listens now. We're serving communities we ignored before. Gerald Whitman resigned from all community leadership positions as required. His court-supervised bias counseling sessions are private, but courthouse reporters note his regular Tuesday appointments. The man who wielded power casually now answers to federal oversight. Janet Holloway left Georgia entirely, a quiet resignation followed by relocation to her daughter's city. Some failures demand geographic distance for healing. 6 months after the federal case, Meridian receives the Community Reinvestment Act's highest rating for the first time in its history. The federal audit finds outstanding performance in community development and minority lending. Compliance isn't enough, Simone tells the board during their quarterly review. Excellence requires intentionality. We're not just following federal law, we're modeling what equitable banking looks like. The bank's success story spreads through financial networks. 3 other community banks implement similar equity initiatives. The Federal Reserve cites Meridian as a best practices model for diversity and inclusion. Real-life stories of transformation emerge daily. Maria Rodriguez, denied a business loan 2 years ago, now owns a thriving restaurant with Meridian's support. James Washington, no relation to Simone, bought his first home through the bank's expanded minority lending program. These touching stories represent more than individual success. They demonstrate systemic change that ripples through communities. The cardboard box from that Friday confrontation sits in Simone's office now, not as humiliation, but as a reminder. Inside, the dead plant has been replaced with a thriving bamboo shoot. Growth from adversity. Resilience through justice. Federal oversight continues, but Meridian has embraced transformation beyond legal requirements. The institution that once embodied discrimination now champions equity, proof that corporate culture can change when consequences have teeth. Dr. Simone Washington didn't just get her job back. She got justice. And in getting justice, she changed an entire institution. One policy, one person, one community loan at a time. 1 year later, Dr. Simone Washington stands before a packed auditorium at the National Banking Convention. Her keynote speech, From Discrimination to Transformation, a Federal Case Study, draws standing ovations from an industry finally ready to confront its own biases. "I didn't fight for my job," she tells the audience of banking executives. "I fought for every person who looks like me walking into boardrooms where they're not expected to belong, where they're questioned not for their qualifications, but for their right to exist in positions of power." The Meridian model has spread across the financial sector. 17 community banks have implemented similar equity frameworks. The American Bankers Association now requires unconscious bias training for board certification. Change ripples outward like stones dropped in still water. Federal oversight at Meridian officially ended after 18 months, 6 months ahead of schedule. The bank's transformation exceeded every compliance metric. More importantly, it created a template for institutional change that prioritizes justice over comfort. The numbers tell the story. Minority business loans increased 340%. Home ownership in previously underserved communities rose 23%. Customer satisfaction among minority clients reached 94%, higher than any demographic group in the bank's history. These aren't just statistics, they're life stories. Real-life stories of families buying their first homes, entrepreneurs launching businesses, students receiving financial literacy education that breaks generational poverty cycles. Maria Rodriguez's restaurant now employs 12 people and sponsored 3 other minority-owned businesses. James Washington became a real estate agent specializing in helping first-time minority homebuyers navigate the system that once excluded them. Keisha Thompson earned her MBA and was promoted to Vice President of Community Development. Each success story validates Simone's belief that fighting discrimination isn't just about individual justice. It's about systemic transformation that lifts entire communities. The touching stories continue daily. Elderly customers who'd never trusted banks now bring their grandchildren to open savings accounts. Young professionals relocate to the area specifically because of Meridian's reputation for equity. The institution that once embodied exclusion now represents possibility. Gerald Whitman completed his court-supervised bias counseling and moved to another state. In his final session, according to court records, he acknowledged that his discrimination had damaged not just Simone, but the entire community the bank claimed to serve. Janet Holloway never returned to banking. Some reckonings require complete departure from systems that enabled harmful behavior. But this story isn't about their redemption. It's about Simone's courage, strategic thinking, and refusal to accept discrimination as inevitable. It's about using federal law as a shield and community support as a sword. Sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen not in the streets, but in boardrooms, courtrooms, and anywhere someone refuses to accept that's just how things are, Simone concluded her keynote speech. Your voice matters in these Black stories of resilience and transformation. Share your own experiences with workplace discrimination in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else to fight back. Together, we can create systemic change, one documented case of courage at a time. Hit that subscribe button for Black Soul Stories and turn on notifications. These real-life stories of justice, intelligence, and quiet power need to be heard across every platform, every community, every boardroom where change is still needed. Because when we share these touching stories of triumph over discrimination, we don't just inform, we inspire the next generation of leaders who refuse to be silent when faced with injustice. Share this video. Comment your experience. Subscribe for more stories that prove justice isn't just possible. It's inevitable when people like Dr. Simone Washington refuse to back down.